so hard. Now everything is easy 'cause of you.
Well, welcome everybody. This is Thoughts for Rent, Realtors Keeping It Real podcast. And I am so excited with my guest today. My guest today is Kai Zerflu. And what he does is he is a field agent, site evaluator for McKenna Property Management and also Seymour Site Evaluators. And I think it would be fun to dig into some of the things that Kai has seen. You've done this, for about 5 years?
Yeah, for about 5 years now. Seen a lot of exciting stuff.
Yeah, you know what? Let's tell everybody, how did you get into this crazy world of site evaluations?
Well, it's all about who you know in this life, I suppose. And the person sitting to my right happens to be my mother.
Hello, son Kai.
And I think she had a couple situations happen where she thought, hey, you know what? It would be a good idea to have somebody to get some eyes on the property while even, maybe while a resident is still living there, but most importantly, while it's vacant. So that's kind of how this all started. And 5 years later, we're still going strong. So.
And you know what I want to do? I want to be able to do practical as far as why we developed the site evaluations, as well as the importance of proper documentation when you are entering a property after a resident moves out. So we'll get good on, we'll give some good information on if you are a self-managing landlord or if you've got a property manager, and these are some ideas that you might want to bring up to them. So for practicality reasons, when a resident moves out of a property, we have you go over and do what's called a walkthrough, and you get a punch list together.
That's correct.
So what exactly does that entail? Give us kind of like that quick summary of what you're walking into and what you're really looking for.
The best way I can describe it is probably everything that the homeowner wants to know about their property. So anything that is different, anything that's dirty, broken, damaged, just anything that the homeowner is going to want to know about their property, or anything that the property manager is going to want to know so that they can fix it and get it ready to go back on the market.
And how many photos do you normally take at, like, let's just say a 2,000 square foot house?
2,000 square foot house, I'm probably taking about 120. And that's if it looks nice.
Whoa. What if it doesn't look nice?
If it doesn't look nice, you're talking about 160, 170.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think that more than anything, eyes on the property means photos and time stamped and dated, because if you are going to hold that resident for any of the damage or anything you're going to do to get the property rent ready, the most important thing is photos. Photos for court. I always look at it as what you got to take to court. You got to prove your case. I also think it's important if it's an out-of-state owner. They want to know what their 500 or something plus investment is looking like.
Absolutely.
And then as a property manager, I'm going to speak from my pride factor. I love showing a lot of the befores and then the afters, because the afters you can really see what a good property manager can do for a rental in order to get it in rent-ready condition. So that sounds like that's a very logical thing. And you know what's really kind of weird? Kai, people don't do it.
And that's something I do not know how they get away with. I don't know.
Me too. I mean, in the property management world, they literally allow the resident that's moving out to supply whatever documentation of the property. And I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think that's a good business sense.
If you trusted everybody, if you wanted to leave your front door unlocked at night, that's maybe something you could do, but sometimes you can't trust people like that.
Definitely not in Las Vegas.
No, definitely not.
I'm locking my doors at night in Las Vegas. Even though it's a great city, I'm still going to lock that door. So now let's tell a little funny story. I like to pull the curtain back and let our listeners find out about some of the things that you've actually seen. So what is something that's kind of a little bizarre that you walked into?
Well, I think the one that takes the cake on this one is probably I was doing a move out walkthrough. So this is no tenant in the property. They got evicted. So a lot of their stuff is still in the property.
Oh, wait, they got evicted.
Yes. So a lot of their stuff is still in the property. And one of the bedrooms was like a play A little playroom.
Wait, like a red room?
Like a red room for adults, absolutely. There was a couple toys for adults, if you will. There was what looked like it used to be resemblance of a person, but definitely did not resemble a person anymore.
Oh
Let's just say
my
that.
goodness. So they used it. They put it to use.
Absolutely, yes.
All right.
And I definitely did not touch anything in that room. I did not even like being in that room. But sometimes, you got to get dirty as a field agent. You got to get into the trenches, if you will.
So you encountered like a little red room on an eviction.
Absolutely.
Well, darn it. Maybe they should have stopped buying all that fun stuff and they could have paid rent and then they could have had a roof over their head.
They were too busy doing other things. That's what they were doing. Let me tell you.
There you go. All right. So now that's a good one. That's hilarious. But tell me another one. What is one of the grossest things that you've encountered from a standpoint?
To beat a gross bathroom. Just a toilet that probably hasn't been flushed. You'd think it hasn't been flushed in a couple of weeks. Yeah. And that smell is lingering. You kind of know what's happening when you get up there. And sinks can just, anything in the bathroom that is not really cleaned or being thought after can just get super dirty, and just something that you don't even know how it's possible it got that dirty.
Well, sometimes I wonder if they just plan it that way.
Absolutely. Sometimes I think that also they're kind of upset maybe, or don't even want me in there. So they're like, let's just gross this guy out as much as we can.
So let me leave this present for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What about... Now, this would freak me out. So this is full disclosure. I could never be a field agent. I'm pretty good at a property manager, but I could not do the field agent part because of this. Insects. So what have you ran into as far as that goes?
It's been a lot. There's a couple properties where you'll find about hundreds of bugs. You'll open up a kitchen drawer, kitchen cabinet, and they'll go scurrying in every direction. And there's hundreds of them. Those don't bother me as much. But what bothers me are the scorpions.
We do have scorpions in Las Vegas.
Scorpions bother me quite a lot because they scare the crap out of me. And, I have to go through all the drawers, all the cabinets, underneath the sinks. And I remember one time I was looking underneath a kitchen sink, and there was about 4 or 3 scorpions that were just made that place their home. And I about ran out of the front door screaming. Oh,
that would scare me. Did you scream when nobody was even there?
Oh, no one's there. I'm screaming. I'm screaming and I'm running back. But then you got to go back in there. You got to take some pictures, and then you got to call out the exterminator. So
and that's the important thing, because that again is the reason why these walkthroughs are so important, and to do it as quickly as you can when the resident moves out, because you don't want all of that infestation. Let's say you need to get it taken care of ASAP. You need that pest terminator out there. And they need to get rid of any food particles that would have been why, the pests are there in the first place, or the dirt. You need to get in, you need to get it really cleaned, and then they're going to do their chemical spray. And honestly, when it comes to something like with 100 insects, that's going to be spray 1. Then it's clean the whole property, and then it's going to be a spray again.
Absolutely.
I mean, the good news is, at least I can speak here from Las Vegas' standpoint, we have some great pest exterminators. And after the second spray, we really don't face that, maybe in some of the East Coast areas where it just lingers. We can usually stop that problem by getting the food out, getting the dirt out, putting down the chemicals, and then hopefully the next resident that moves in is clean.
I'm also very surprised about how good they are, because I'll go to a property right after the resident moves out. I'll see hundreds of bugs. And then I'm back in that same property a couple weeks later, clean as a whistle.
Oh, good. That speaks to we know what we're doing sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yay! All right. So now we talked about the fact of the importance of getting into a property as soon as the resident moves out. We all know that they're supposed to give you a 30-day notice. But I don't think that they know that, or they don't want to do that. And so once in a blue moon, we have an individual that just skips in the middle of the night. And so what do you do on something like that?
Well, a couple months ago, or maybe closer to a year, something like that happened, and just totally lost communication with the management company. Couldn't schedule anything. Nobody knew if it was there. So I had to go out to that property, not knowing what I was going to walk into, knock on the door a couple of times, no answer. I had to take a key, enter that property myself, come to find out that the property was abandoned.
Okay.
So luckily it was abandoned, so I'm not walking in anything too crazy. But that's just something that happens. These people, they just want to get out of town. Something happened, they get out of town quick. And it's our responsibility to go in there, make sure that they're gone, and then get that property ready for the market again.
Yeah. So another good reason why you want to have somebody on your team, whether you are self-managing and you do it yourself, or you've got a property management company that actually puts that procedure in place where if a resident stops communicating, then you know what? That's a red flag. Go post that 24-hour notice, give a site evaluator or a field agent that master key, and then get in there and get your eyes in on the property. So you hadn't started working for McKenna Property Management yet when this occurred. But the whole reason why I got so committed to making sure that eyes got on the property was because of this. So we ended up with a woman who we didn't know, but had some mental issues. I believe that it might have been bipolar. I'm not a doctor. This is just kind of stuff we found after the fact. And she was living in one of our rentals and paid rent on time, never called in for any repairs. And then one day, the neighbor contacted us. This is before we had all these procedures in place. We figured if they're paying rent on time, there's no HOA fees, they're not calling in for repairs where, the vendor tells us something weird is going on. We kind of went with the rule of thumb that everything's okay.
And they were like the perfect resident at that point.
Not causing any problems, right? Landlord's happy because they're not paying any repair fees and rent's coming in religiously. Well, in this case, not so much. So the neighbor calls us and says, hey, we see a lot of cats going in and out of the house. And I'm thinking, nosy neighbor, what the heck? Quit calling me and telling me about a cat. Who cares? But I thought, in my gut, you know what? I'll send one of my team members out just to see if the neighbor was kind of being, overly neighborly. So we sent out a team member. Team member came back, and I'll remember exactly what I was doing. I was pouring a Diet Coke in our little kitchen area, and he walks in and he goes, Jenni, we have a huge problem. And I go, what? He goes, I saw like 30 cats leaving the property. I said, 30 cats? Holy crap. Now, we thought 30 cats was a big deal. So that's when we went over there, did the 24-hour. We did the formal walkthrough. Come to find out, over 100 cats were living in this property. This property was gross. It was so awful. You had to wear a mask to even walk through the front entry. It was that bad because she mentally felt like she was helping these cats. And I don't know why, but cat hospitals were giving her sick cats to live out the rest of their life with her. And so she thought she was doing a really great thing in doing so, breaking a gazillion lease violations, not only lease violations, health violations, county violations, you name it, right? So after that happened, I said, you know what? We need to get eyes on the property. We always need to see what is in that property, who's living in that property, and the condition of that property before we renew. So that is how the site evaluation came into play. And the site evaluation is a little different because the site evaluation, you're going in when the resident is actually living there. The field agent department, you're going in after the tenant vacates or the resident vacates. So that is why McKenna Property Management is so strict on making sure that there is at least one minimum site evaluation done every year before the renewal, because we do 1-year renewals. And I think that has saved our owners thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars by not letting something go on that's not correct.
I don't doubt you've saved your owners a lot of money.
Yeah. And I feel better at night. I sleep better at night knowing that we don't have a grow house, a cat house, or anything, a prostitution house. Should I tell that story?
Tell it.
Oh my gosh. So this actually happened on my own rental. We get a call from Henderson Police, and they say, Miss McKenna, we might have a problem at your rental at blah, blah, blah street. I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I'm just down the corner. I'll meet you there. So we hop in the car. We go over there. Come to find out, somebody was running a prostitution ring from my master or primary bedroom all night long. So thank goodness the neighbors called the cops. The cops came in, figured out what was going on, got the county records, gave us a call. We went over there. We stopped it too quick. But yeah, had to be on my own rental that we had a prostitution
I thought the red
ring.
room was bad. Should
And what was funny is they were making a lot of money because they had one girl, and then according to the neighbor, there was like 4 or 5 guys
It's a
every
revolving
hour.
door
So it was a
over there,
revolving
revolving
door.
door.
Making money off of my rental. And yeah, there you go. Well, now, what has gone on? I know that something happened with you pertaining to an alarm at one time.
So walking into a property, and I have the alarm code, so I know how to turn the alarm off. Thinking everything's going to go smooth. Well, it was not smooth at all. I get in there and the alarm's so loudest alarm I've ever heard in my life. I put the code in. Okay, didn't work. Put the code in again. Okay, didn't work. Now I'm there for like 5 minutes trying to get in contact with anybody. Just turn this alarm off, please. The neighbor ends up coming over like, what's going on here? Starts looking at me like I'm a burglar. I'm in there ransacking the property. But turns out that the homeowner actually changed the code that day, and I just did not get the updated code. So luckily the alarm was only on for about 10 minutes, and then we were able to get it turned off. But that was quite an experience, just to feel like a robber there for a couple of minutes. Feel like I'm breaking the law.
I think there was calls made to the office that were like, I think the cops are coming, and I don't know what we're going to do.
You need to bail me out. You guys need to bail me out here because something's going on.
We have the petty cash drawer where we're going to have to bail out Kai because they thought he was an actual burglar. All right, so we don't have much more time. So I want to ask you a couple questions, and just as soon as you think of them, just whatever pops into your brain. Okay. Craziest thing you've ever seen in a backyard?
Craziest thing is probably not in any of your property's backyards, but whenever I'm at a house in the summer here in Vegas, it's about 110 on average. I see dogs just in the backyard on rocks, no shade at all. Sometimes it's long furred dogs. You know, my first job was actually working with dogs, so I always have a little soft spot in my heart for dogs. So it just kind of sucks to see that, but so that's crazy to see every time.
Yeah, it would be nice if you could do something and like make a little citation or a fine on things like that.
Yeah, it would
That's
be
a
nice,
bummer.
but
All right, what about this one? Weirdest smell or grossest smell you've ever walked into?
grossest smell is easily a dishwasher that had a swamp growing in it. I think there was actually an ecosystem going on in the bottom. The water at the bottom was growing moss, and as soon as you opened the dishwasher up, you would think you just transported into a swamp filled with manure. Absolutely horrible. I will never forget that smell in my life. Don't know how they got it out. Somebody must have. They deserve a Nobel Peace Prize. I don't know how.
Yeah, I don't know who did that one, but thank goodness. And then what's the nicest surprise that you've had, either from neighbor, maybe a resident, or anything while you've been doing your job?
You know, there is actually one time I was doing a move out, and in the whole house was really clean, so they definitely cared about leaving it how they found it. But the fridge had one thing in it, and it was a little bottle of tequila that I think they left for either the property management company or something. And so I think I actually called you, and I was like, hey, I think they left this here on purpose. Do you mind if I take it with me? And you're like, of course, go for it. So I think absolutely they left that there on purpose because it was the only thing in the property.
That's pretty cool.
And that made me feel
That's
made
really
me feel
cool.
nice.
And just for anyone who's listening, in Nevada, when a resident gives you possession back of the property, everything in that property now becomes the property managers or the owners or field agent or whatever. You only need to hold personal property if it's an eviction. But if they give you possession back, everything is free game of what they leave.
No, I definitely think they were leaving that on purpose.
That's pretty cool.
So I was excited to see.
Well, so that was our rapid fire wrapping up for our podcast today. Remember, you are listening to Thoughts for Rent, Realtors Keeping It Real. And if you think that you have somebody in your life that would like to hear this podcast, please share it or definitely subscribe so that you don't miss our once a week drop. We definitely keep it real here at Thoughts for Rent. And today I am so excited that Kai was with us, and maybe we'll bring him on again and we'll talk about some other stories.
I love it.
Thank you, Kai. And for everyone listening, appreciate it. If you have any comments, questions, always reach out. We're here.
Thank you.
Bye.
Oh, there you go. Sound good? Okay, good. I'll pass over to Ireland. Here you go, kid.
Thanks, Pops.